Hello everyone and welcome to the Well of Curiosity. Now, one of the first videos I ever made for this channel took us on a journey to explore the layers of the Earth's atmosphere. Today though, instead of travelling up, we are going to travel down to investigate the layers of our oceans. So grab your scuba gear and your submarine as we prepare to dive into the world beneath the waves. Now I should say before we get going that not every part of our ocean will be deep enough to contain all of the layers. Some parts may only be deep enough for 3, 2, maybe even just the 1 layer. But we are going to dive right the way down to the deepest point in the oceans on today's journey to uncover all the layers and find out exactly what is waiting for us under the sea. The first layer that we encounter is the sunlight zone. This begins at the surface and goes down to around 200 meters depth. There's plenty of light and heat that reaches this layer, meaning it's able to experience a wide range of temperatures depending on where you are around the world. Lots of physical, chemical and biological processes, like photosynthesis, occur in this layer, meaning there's plenty of oxygen and nutrients. And as there isn't that much water above us at the moment, the pressure is quite low. It is arguably the most comfortable layer in our oceans and is home to lots of marine animals like sharks, tuna, jellyfish, turtles, rays and seals, as well as seaweeds and corals. One of the major drawbacks of this zone is the lack of hiding spaces, so some creatures have a special adaptation to help them blend into their surroundings called countershading. They will have a light belly that blends in with the light above them if they're spotted from below, and a dark back that blends into the darkness of the ocean below them if they're spotted from above. The further you go down into our oceans, the more light is absorbed and scattered by the water and the darker it will get. The second layer is a lot darker than the first and is known as the twilight zone, which goes from 200 meters to 1000 meters depth. There is still some sunlight here, but not enough for photosynthesis to occur, and so no plants can survive. The temperature is really starting to drop, and the deeper we go, the higher the pressure will be. You will still find plenty of life in this zone, including octopus, squid, hatchetfish and bristlemouth fish. Many of the creatures here will have thin bodies to help hide from predators, or will have red or black coloured bodies to help blend in with the murky waters. Other creatures will have large eyes to help them see in their darker environment. The twilight zone is where we start to encounter creatures that can make their own light in a process called bioluminescence. They could do this as a way to help them navigate, as a way of luring in unsuspecting prey, or as a defence mechanism to confuse and disorient their predators. If you continue to dive down even further, eventually you'll reach a point where there is no sunlight at all, and you will enter the pitch black midnight zone. Now this starts at about 1000 meters and continues down to around 4000 meters depth. Now here, from this point on, the temperatures will be close to freezing. The pressure from the water will be immense. The only light comes from the creatures that live here, and food is scarce. Surprisingly, despite these challenging conditions, you will still find a lot of creatures that live down here, including anglerfish, dragonfish, goblin sharks, viperfish, and gulper eels, all of which look a world away from what we saw near the surface. A lot of creatures have adapted to the tough life in the midnight zone, such as having darkened or even transparent bodies to avoid detection, producing light to lure in their prey, having an excellent sense of hearing to listen in the darkness, or having huge mouths, with some having hinged jaws to be able to swallow anything and everything that they come across. You cannot afford to be a fussy eater down here. Now, if the sea is deep enough, you can travel down through the midnight zone and eventually come across the abyss, which goes from 4000 meters to 6000 meters down. Now, just like the midnight zone above, there is no light. It's in a state of constant darkness. It is low in temperature, oxygen, and food, but incredibly high in pressure, which is now high enough to rupture the hull of a nuclear submarine. Still, we can find life here, but once again, the deeper we go, the stranger it seems to get. The types of creatures you can find here include deep water squids, sea spiders, and starfish. These mostly survive on whatever they can find drifting down from the layers above. Possibly the most bizarre and fascinating organisms you can find in the abyss are the giant tube worms that you can find growing on the sides of hydrothermal vents, also known as black smokers. Here, the water seeps down through cracks in the ocean floor to be heated up by the internal heat of our Earth. It then rushes back out into the ocean, now incredibly hot at over 400 degrees Celsius, but filled with chemicals and minerals. This feeds tiny bacteria that live in the water, which then in turn feed the worms on the sides of these vents, which have been seen to grow up to 8 feet long. For most of our ocean, that is as deep as it goes. However, in certain places you can find long, narrow cavities in the ocean floor that we call trenches. Now, these are formed when two tectonic plates are moving towards each other and one is subducted below the other and it begins to sink down. Now, these trenches form the deepest points in our ocean. The deepest point in the entire ocean is found in the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Japan. It is known as Challenger Deep, and it lies nearly 11,000 metres below the surface of the ocean. If you picked up Mount Everest, the world's tallest mountain, and dropped it to where Challenger Deep is, the top of the mountain would be over 2,000 metres below the waves. We have sent multiple expeditions into these trenches to find what lies within. Our hopes were not high, due to the freezing temperatures, the total darkness, and the enormous pressure that would feel like 100 elephants resting on the top of your head. We didn't expect to find much. But even here, life finds a way. Creatures that call this layer home include sea cucumbers, plankton, and snailfish. These creatures, just like their friends in the abyss, generally feed off of whatever could fall in from the layers above. Now, because of the lack of sunlight, and indeed the lack of creatures that can make their own light, many of the creatures you can find in trenches are completely blind. So there we are, we have completed our journey to the bottom of the sea. This journey has highlighted not only how enormous our ocean is, but how diverse each layer can be. I do hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, then give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new for more of this sort of thing in the future. I will leave you here to find your way back up to the surface, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.